What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another edition of the 3B. Actually, it's kind of a special edition as we preview the sunbelt baseball tournament with you from the first kick to the last pitch, and that's the season that we're in, Marv. So before we get to the sunbelt stuff, let's go through what your kids have been up to with baseball. You said it was a little bit slower of a weekend, right?
Yeah, no games. Youngest had his all-star tryout for Little League. Got the email this morning, made the team, and then they had their postseason. My oldest son, they have their postseason this week. So win in advance, lose, go home, and then after that, he'll have his all-star tryout the next week. And then it's full bore through Father's Day weekend.
Nice.
Yeah.
And we'll see you again in football season, Marv.
Yeah. The month just from now until the end of June. Just you'll just text me.
Yeah. There you go. Look at this. Chad jumping in real quick here saying, "What's up, gents? How you feeling?" We're feeling pretty good.
Yeah.
But Chad, I think you're feeling pretty good because your Southern Miss Golden Eagles jumped up and claimed first place in the regular season. Got some good news there on Saturday. As we know, all the games wrapped up Saturday so that everybody can start their conference tournaments. This one for the Sun Belt goes from May 19th to 24th at Davos. I don't know if that's supposed to be spelled out with the letters, but Dabos Park. They've renamed it. So
that's where the Montgomery River Dogs play, right?
Something like that. I think they made a change their names or something too, right? Wasn't it like the Biscuits or something?
It could be. It could still be the Biscuits. It could still be the Biscuits.
I feel like all those minor league teams do whatever they can to like get a talking point and, make some news or some headlines. So we'll see. Oh, look at this. Ben jumping in still, even with A-State not making the tournament, as we'll kind of talk to. He says he's very disappointed for that. And rightly so, I'd say, after kind of the expectation going into the year and how it kind of went early
also
on.
The way they played towards the first part of the season through the middle part of the season. We were talking before we jumped on, like, can you believe they didn't make the tournament?
Yeah. Yep, we were. And so we'll see what happens in the offseason there as they prep for next baseball season. Chad saying, yeah, for the Golden Eagles, everyone counted them out. Everyone just assumed Coastal was going to cruise to this thing, right? Especially with their last two matchups.
Yeah.
Didn't happen. Montgomery Biscuits is correct.
It is correct. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. You got to get the hats, the gear, all the talking points there. So that will be happening in Montgomery, Alabama, the tournament, every single game on ESPN Plus. So really easy. Where to find it? ESPN Plus. Either you're a subscriber or you're not. As a Sunbelt fan, Marv, I know you and I are subscribers. So really easy to see your favorite team play all the time. Yeah, you don't want to give ESPN more money. I get it. But, can't travel to every game. ESPN Plus gives you the ability to kind of get there in some form or fashion. Really got some schools that need some work on their baseball camera work, right, Marv?
Yeah, there's some leave a little bit to be desired.
Yes, but it does put you there indirectly, right? So you are getting to see your favorite team play. So that will happen for this tournament as well. Ben saying it's time for football season over at A-State. Look, football never sleeps, so you're not incorrect about that. So we have 10 teams in this tournament, as we know. There's 14 teams in this conference. Only 4 teams missed out. The rest of the 10 make it in, but we do have the first 4 that will go Tuesday. We'll get to that in just a second. That's a single elimination. After that, it goes to double. So, unless you're in that first 4, you can give up one game before you have to move on. But we are calling this tournament time for this episode, obviously. And there's the Sunbelt's logo that they're using for this year's championship. So I think that's pretty well done. Their brackets leave a lot to be desired. Marv, did you see the white box with yellow text inside?
Yes, super hard to read.
Yeah, that was rough, man. I don't know who thought that was a good idea. I've always gone like dark on our background so that the other stuff pops when you can read it. Or just going with the logos. Obviously, when you're a conference, you want everybody anywhere to read it and know who's who. With our fans here, a lot of them are very good with logos and understand who's who. So I like to do that part for our portion of it. All right, so let's get into where we had these power rankings before all of last week's activities, we, like a lot of people probably would have, had Southern Miss at number 1 already. So they made us look pretty good, right, Marv?
They did. I mean, 40 wins, only team to get to 40 wins. And Chad's right. Like, Coastal had built a surmountable lead up until the last couple of weekends, and they kind of slid off there at the end. It's got to be not the way they wanted to end their season, and Southern Miss just kept winning.
That they did. Would you? All right, so we got Southern Miss 1, Coastal 2, Cajuns 3, which was a little bit of a surprise for me, them getting that high. Although with what they did against Coastal, you know, definitely deserved at this point now. Probably some people would even say you could put the Cajuns above. So I'll ask you that now. Would you move Coastal down any further, or are they still cemented at 2 because of the entirety of the resume there?
Yeah, they're still 2 in my book. If we did power rankings going into the tournament, 1 and 2 would not change.
Gotcha. I think I'm the same because I think this series could have gone an opposite way if it was in Conway versus being in Lafayette.
Yeah.
That they have an advantage, right? We've talked about what their atmosphere is like and how the team rallies around the fans and vice versa. So, yeah, that's a coin flip at best. But, yeah, I'm like you. I still give the nod to Coastal.
Yeah, they're 5 games better than them in conference in its entirety. So, yeah, I couldn't change it.
Yeah, although it is power rankings, we could slide them because Coastal is sliding while Cajuns have been playing better. But, yeah, I mean, again, this is partly how it's happening right now and partly how, we've taken in the rest of the resume from the season. South Alabama at 4. We had App at 5, Texas State at 6, Troy at 7. I mean, again, kind of similar again this week. Coin flips for a lot of those differences there, right?
Yeah, I mean, South Alabama, App State, and Troy all tied at 17 and 13, and then Louisiana right behind them. So, yeah, you could just shuffle that any way you want to, and you wouldn't be wrong.
I agree. I still think that right now, right? I mean, this tournament will tell us quite a bit about who's going to step up and be one of these better teams. Now, we had A-State, Arkansas State Red Wolves there at 8, and they didn't even make the tournament field as we know now. How much of a surprise was that? Or did you expect that? Because I know you and Seth had to miss last week. TJ was on with me. I said, here's my little hot take, if you will. And I don't know how hot it was. But last week, I said, these are the 10 teams as they currently sit. I don't know what order they'll be in, but these are the 10 teams. I think all the bottom 4 remain out, and they did. Did you think A-State had a shot to make it in, or were you, kind of thinking that they might not?
No, I thought they would make it. I thought they would be in the 7 through 10 single elimination battle, but I definitely thought that they would make it in.
Yeah, I thought the opposite, but it's just because my reasoning was neither ULM or A-State, who are both on the cusp, right?
Yep.
Neither one of them gave me the confidence after how they played throughout this. They had some good wins, right? And they had some bad losses. And it was just this pendulum, this seesaw of like emotion about what I thought of them all season. And so I thought, I just can't trust you to win a 3-game set with your season on the line, because I just don't know what you're going to do. We've got ODU, Marshall, Georgia State. Those 3 teams were kind of in our play-in game area, and that's where they ended up, those 3 teams. Then you got ULM, JMU, Georgia Southern there at the bottom to finish it out. I think we got those pretty good, right? I mean,
yeah, we did.
Kind of where I ranked those.
3 of the 4 that we thought would miss ended up missing.
Yeah, and before we move on here, Ben saying he does hope the sunbelt does well, and hopefully a team can make it to the College World Series. I'd love to see 2 make it there. We've never had it, so that would be something to hang our hats on, to have 2 make it to Omaha somehow. But it's going to be an uphill battle because it looks like we're only going to have 1 regional host so far. I'm not saying it couldn't be something different, but everyone's got a little bit further uphill climb. Well, actually, really, there's only 2 that have a shot, Coastal and Southern Miss. And I'm not sure, even if Coastal wins the conference title, that they would get there more. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that before we jump to the next thing real quick.
It's going to be close, right? I think they have to win the tournament to be a 1 through 16 seed, if you will, and host. But it's going to be tight.
Yeah, I don't disagree there. But also, I guess if you're saying people got the eye test a little bit more than the RPI factor in this, like maybe if they start hammering everybody in this tournament and they go, wow, something woke them up. They had this little slide and now they've turned it around and now they're hot and this is a team to watch out for. Who knows? Let's jump back real quick and see how we got here from last week. We did have midweeks. We had 6 on the docket. 2 got canceled. We had Troy beat UAB, which is kind of big for 2 reasons. RPI value for Troy and also in-state game right there. UTSA and Texas State. Woo.
Yeah, that's not a good look.
Not a good look. UTSA is a team that's in the field, so like losing to them isn't the worst, right? But 19-4, and it was never close, really. It was pretty lopsided pretty quickly. There was a scuffle at the end of the game here. If you haven't seen this, a little bit of a pushing and yelling match between the benches, with one Texas State player at least being caught on camera saying, "We'll see you in regionals." Well, it's a tough look when you lose 19-4, but hey, maybe as a parting gift, they end up meeting in some regionals somehow, and they can get some revenge. But that's a pretty big beat down there. Georgia Southern, hey, the last midweek of the season, they decided, let's just take out Charleston, who took out a couple good teams from the Sunbelt earlier this year.
Yeah, that's probably the Texas State's probably the most shocking loss, and that's probably the most shocking win.
Absolutely. I'd have to fully agree with you on that. And then Coastal got a little bit of revenge. I believe, Marv, you mentioned previously that Citadel was the team that took down Coastal earlier this season, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Citadel played a lot of teams really close this year.
Yeah. SoCon, pretty good baseball conference. So
not terrible.
Yeah, they got a couple good teams this year, Mercer being the best, at least as it sits right now. Chad's asking honest opinion. Do either of you think Southern gets a national seed? And B, who is your dark horse to win the tournament? Okay, let's we can talk about the national seed real quick, I guess. I think as long as they end up 1 or 2, if they get to the championship game, I think yes.
I agree.
I think otherwise maybe you're on the cusp, but I don't know. I mean, and again, you're not supposed to do this, but when you look at the past 10 years, when they've gotten this win mark for that many years in a row and they're consistently there, they'll sell out their stadium. They're playing good ball. Yeah, they got a pretty good strength of schedule. I think Coastal's strength of schedule is better, if I'm not mistaken, but their RPI is one of the highest in the country. So yeah. I don't know how you could argue that as long as they do any kind of decent performance, that they should probably be there. Let's save our dark horse once we get into the tournament field talk. We'll get there quite quickly. If you've watched last week's show, this graphic seems like it hasn't changed on the last side. Southern Miss, Texas State, both 2 weeks in a row of sweeping their opponent. Obviously, this week was a little different. They swept Georgia Southern for just Southern Miss, and Texas State took down Marshall in the sweep. That was a little surprise to me, honestly. We'll get to the picks here in a minute too, but these teams getting hot at the right time of year. Obviously, Southern Miss hot for most of the year. Texas State needed to get these last 2 sweeps really to have any great shot or chance, and obviously avoided the first 4 as well. So that's pretty big for them.
Yeah, it is.
Ed Harold said to consider the SEC bias. Yeah, you do have to do that. We'll see if it comes into play when we're talking NCAA tournament field and not just the Sunbelt. But we'll stick to the Sunbelt for now because that's the one that's coming up right now. Coastal, until tomorrow, we will know their new ranking, but I expect them to fall, hopefully not out of the top 25, but I think it is reasonable if their D1 ranking is number 20 right now. Let's start with that, Marv. You think they drop all the way out, or do you think they're hanging on by a thread there at 24 or 25?
Well, I hope they hang on at 24, 25 without seeing what everybody behind them did. Sure. And in front too, right? It's kind of hard to tell, but for our sake, yeah, I hope we have 2 nationally ranked teams going into our conference tournament.
Same. I guess any real surprises on Thursday to start out the weekend? I'd say App beating Georgia State and Southern Miss hammering Georgia Southern, not too surprised. Troy winning 6-4 of UM, not a shocker. Was it Cajuns over the Coastal at 7-2 in the first one?
Cajuns over Coastal, definitely. And then I guess you could put the App one in there, considering what happened the next two games. You're like, oh my gosh, okay, they got the series off to a good start, and then they dropped two super close contests on Friday and Saturday. But yeah, Cajuns starting at home isn't really that big of a surprise. Cajuns a good baseball team, but to win pretty convincingly like that has to be the biggest win of Thursday.
Yeah. I think one of the bigger surprises too is A-State blanking South Alabama. I mean, we knew that they needed to win to get in, but South Alabama's still a good team. We had them high in our power rankings. Like, getting blanked on Friday night or Thursday night, I guess in this case, a little bit of a surprise there for me. Texas State 5-0, obviously a little bit of a surprise there as well. But that's how we started it out on Friday. We see ODU take a 2-0 lead over James Madison. Not really a surprise there. Like you said, a little bit of a surprise with Georgia State getting one at App State. Well, actually, I wouldn't say that. I think every single one of us had Georgia State taking at least one game in our pick'ems. So not surprising, I guess I should say there. Coastal gets back on the board, blanks the Cajuns this time around. Is there another score that sticks out to you specifically in this one?
ULM hammering Troy like that probably just jumps off the page, but I think everybody had that a 2-1 series too, so you expected ULM to get one.
Yeah, definitely. South Alabama gets back on the schneid with a 7-2 victory over A-State, and Texas State takes down Marshall again. All right, so this is how it wrapped up, and there were a couple really, really important matchups in these last games on Saturday, and JMU surprises ODU in the last one. I think we'll see in a minute. All of us picked that thing correctly, but we all probably sweating a little bit saying, man, it looks like ODU's going to sweep this team. Yeah. And then Georgia State, App State, they play a close one. I mean, it's only 3-2 in that one, Marv.
Yeah, it was. I think App was up 2-0 at one point. And then Cajuns take a close game to win the series against Coastal Carolina.
Yeah, and an important one for them for multiple reasons. But yeah, that one definitely a little bit of a controversial game, but the Cajuns did come out on top because it seemed like most of the controversy was going against the Cajuns. So to win at home there was a runner interference call that I saw the replay of, and I said, look, I'm not a baseball umpire, but I didn't see the runner interference was called on Louisiana as the Coastal runner was running to the base, and it looked like there was nothing out of the ordinary in the play at all. So surprised there. There was another controversial call in that one, but again, they still take it 3-2, get the win. Southern Miss does not slow down, right? This is the last game you think, all right, they get these guys off the mound quick, kind of rest their guys. Maybe they drop one, but they don't care about it or something. No, they care.
And then they stayed hot. I think they scored, 10 runs in each game this weekend. Like you said, hot at the right time. I think they won 9 in a row now. And they get an extra day rest.
That they do. And to put Ed's comment back up here, he says, right now, Southern is seated higher than MSU and Ole Miss, which is awesome. Again, in-state SEC teams, they always want to talk down on you or at you, and you're just getting it done because you keep winning on the field where it matters. And Texas State had to work it out, but they got the sweep done, beating Marshall 5-4 there in that final game. South Alabama ended the dreams and the hopes of A-State fans and players, winning that last game 6-2. And Troy comes through 13-3 over ULM. So that takes us to our series picks. Let's put this full screen for a minute. We got to give a little round of applause, Marv, for Seth's picks. 5-2 for their first time all season in his series picks here.
No, that's he needed that. Was like we were talking before, a little bit too little, too late. Do you have the overall season numbers by any chance?
I don't have them finished, but I can add these to them. Let me see if I have. Let me see here. He was down by a lot. So he's going to finish with 25 series correct. You and I, before this week even started, both had 29 series correct. So definitely third place in the series picks. It will be relatively close in the overalls because he went 18-3. No, you're still going to take that. You're still going to walk away with that pretty easily because you guys both went 18-3 for the games specifically overall, which makes sense. Him going 5-2 in the series, you going 4-3. Very little difference there. And TJ did fairly well in the overall picks. Actually, did better than me. We both ended with 2-5 in the series picks, but 16-5 for him, 15-6 for myself. So yet again, decent with the series picks as you and I were tied neck and neck before this last week. Obviously, you're going to take the series picks. It would have been nice for me to claim a victory over the true baseball guys that do this all the time. But I'll take a back seat and just take pride in beating Seth in that one. But yeah, like I said, all of us picked the ODU versus JMU series exact 2-1. No surprise there. A lot of these were 2s and 1s either way. Not a lot of sweeps were even predicted this week, which again makes a lot of sense with how many things were on the line, how many things had to happen for certain teams. But there were 2 sweeps. They just were in the one series that we picked with Southern Miss, and that was you and TJ who picked the Golden Eagles to sweep over Georgia Southern. I just felt like, I don't know if Seth's with me on this one, but last game of the season, they knew nothing was left, right? Like throw it all out there, win one game. I just thought, man, they'll be able to get at least one, but it wasn't to be.
No, you had the top team in the conference playing the worst team in the conference. So I think for Southern Miss, right, like to ride that momentum of, hey, we just swept 2 series in a row. Like we're going to go win this tournament. Probably a little bit bigger for them than most people think.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ed says he can't believe 2 of you saw Southern Miss. I guess probably says can't believe 2 of you didn't see a Southern Miss sweep over the last place team because we didn't. But again, as Marv, you said earlier this year, I think it's always hard to sweep. It's always hard to sweep.
Very hard to sweep.
Yeah. And then nobody predicted Texas State to take down Marshall in the sweeping fashion. You and TJ both picked them to win the series 2-1. So much respect to that.
The only reason I never pick Marshall to get swept is because when you have Bryce on the mound on Friday or Thursday in this case, you are going to have a chance to win the baseball game.
Yeah, which is not the game they won this week, actually. So that's
no, it's not.
But yeah, I mean, I thought it was going to be like a parting present, right? Like Marshall's like, yeah, man, I don't care that we're playing in San Marcos. I'm gonna, we're gonna win this one and say like, see you later.
Yeah,
you're off to the pack. This is our parting gift. The Marshall parting gift. They both are in the tournament, so we could have another matchup between those two. But yeah, that was a little interesting. Troy, TJ, and I both thought Troy would get the best of ULM in sweeping fashion, but you and Seth were right with the 2-1 predictions there. We split evenly on the Coastal and Louisiana thing as well. Yep. Seth and I versus you and TJ.
Yeah, what did you see there where you took Louisiana to take the series?
Very simple. Slumping Coastal at home for the Cajuns.
There you go.
And I said, this is not the trip they want to take right now, is what I said in my mind. I even thought, the Cajuns could sweep, but the talent level at Coastal is just too high for me to say, yeah, they're not going to get swept. So we'll see. Ed said conference title was on the line. That's one reason USM didn't like it. It's a great point. Yeah, I mean, there wasn't just, last game, regular season game this year. It meant more than that for multiple reasons. So that's definitely a good aspect to keep in mind there. So let's go to what the standings look like as we finish it out. Again, Southern Miss claimed the title 22-8 versus Coastal's 21-9. That's how big those last 2 weekend series were for Coastal. And again, Southern Miss 40-win season. There's no doubt you're going to be one of the best teams in the country at 40 wins because they didn't have a very easy schedule.
No.
And then they came on strong at the end. And the RPI as it sits right this second is different from what's on this graphic because these were kind of the RPIs as the games were going final Saturday. So some of them moved very slightly. Some of them moved a little bit more, but this is what they were as we were wrapping up the graphics on Saturday. And these are in correct order. I believe Marv, I had this out before the sunbelt did because their conference standings, they had the records in there, although they weren't all updated. But they had the records in there, but they didn't have like the tiebreakers in the standings graphic. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense. And I don't think it's right. So App, Troy, and South Alabama. I think I have that here somewhere. My paperwork. Oh, here it is. There were App had an 11-7 record. So when there's a 3-team tie, when it's 2 teams, is a little easier than basketball. When there's 2 teams, it's head to head. If there was a head to head matchup, very easy to determine. So the tiebreakers in this scenario, very easy. This was the only difficult one because when 3 or more teams are tied, you go to records versus common opponents. Okay. So all 3 teams had to play the same teams for you to be able to include that in their record. Those 3 teams were ODU, Southern Miss, Marshall, ULM, Georgia Southern, and the Cajuns. So again, you talk about like, Georgia Southern's in last place. You need to sweep there because guess what? App was the only team to sweep Georgia Southern and ended up winning this tiebreaker because they had an 11-7 record versus 10-8 for both Troy and South Alabama.
Okay.
That's how big. Now, obviously, there's some other differences, right? They didn't all have the same record against everybody, but they all 3 were 2-1 against ODU and 1-2 versus Southern Miss. Actually, they were all 2-1 against Marshall, and they were all 2-1 against ULM. I'm going backwards on what I just said here.
Hold on.
But some differences.
Didn't App win the series against Troy?
They did. Yep. But that won't come into the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough. So yeah, that's where like that basketball thing could end up being real weird, right? Because of 5 teams tied or whatever. I don't remember how many it was. It was a lot. 7 teams, 6 teams. And then once you determine that App is 3rd place, as they are in this graphic right here, you had to figure out who was next with Troy or South Alabama. It is not head-to-head after that because you can't you can't go backwards in the tiebreakers. So you don't go back up to the top. You move down further, which says you have to now take those 2 teams' record against the best team that they both played in the standings. That team isn't Southern Miss or Coastal. Actually, it is Southern Miss, but they had the same record. Anyway, by the time you get to it, it's Louisiana.
Okay.
And that was where the difference was. Troy beat Louisiana 2-1, while South Alabama was 1-2. That's the differentiator. So that's why every game and every series matter.
That's crazy.
Because when the tiebreakers come into effect, that's what makes the difference. Again, every other tiebreaker was just between 2 teams. It was a head-to-head. Texas State beat the Cajuns. They're ahead of them. And then there were, I guess.
That's it.
Well, technically, A-State and ULM tied, but neither one were in the field. But I still did the tiebreaker just to see who should be there at that seeded or at that number. And A-State beat ULM in the regular season. So
there you go.
There you go. Yes. I mean, we already kind of talked about surprises and everything. So I guess, is there anything you want to say about this final standings graphic here?
Just crazy to me that a team that ends up 3rd place and the Sunbelt Conference has a 101 RPI and a team that doesn't make the tournament has a 58. Those are the 2 things that really stick out to me.
Yeah. It really is shocking, right? Like, App's not even close to everybody else on that left side. It's top 7. And A-State's not even close to any of those teams on the other side. It really doesn't make sense. Very weird. It tells you why that RPI metric is so important, because had A-State even made the Sunbelt Conference tournament field, you're looking at a possible playoff, postseason team still. They'd have to go on a run. I'm not saying like just making the tournament was enough.
Yes. But
you could go on a run, maybe not win it. I don't know. But I don't know. 29-24 is not the greatest look, but it's not awful, especially with the strength of schedule that they had. Bobcat Buck, is Texas State the 2nd hottest team right now, currently winning 7 of the last? I'd say so.
Yeah.
I mean, that UTSA game is ugly, but when they've needed to win the games against the teams they needed to beat in conference, they've certainly done that. But Eddie's saying weak non-conference schedule. I think maybe that's a reference to A-State more than Texas State, but I'm not sure exactly who. He can chime in further if he's got
that might be an App State reference.
Yeah, it's true. And then dropping that series to Gardner-Webb early this year looks really bad because that was part of that not great RPI, strength of schedule aspect there. All right, so this is the first four. This is a tournament. Oh, he's saying yes, it was App State.
Yeah.
This is the first four. It kicks off Tuesday down in Montgomery, as we said. We've got number 10 Marshall versus number 7 Louisiana. Look a little familiar there, Marv?
It does. Listen, we talked about dark horses, right? Like who would be your dark horse? Louisiana would be one of mine, but once again, I would assume that the Herd's going to throw Bryce, and once again, not just because he's been on the show a lot and he's an awesome guy, but he's a phenomenal pitcher. So if he's on the mound, you're always going to have a chance to win.
Yeah, absolutely. And for Louisiana, their snapshot here, they were first 4 out back in mid-May, which isn't too far gone, right? So they'll need a little bit of a run. I guess they don't have to win it if they were that close, but we'll see if they need to do that. We've got Colt Brownlee, Amity, Donovan LaSalle. They got some great performances where they beat LSU 7-2, but we know LSU, not the greatest of teams this year, kind of fell off. And then obviously their hottest portion of the season was probably here in this last weekend where they beat number 20 Coastal Carolina. And I mean, you got a road series win against Dallas Baptist. I'm not sure if that is as meaningful as some of the ones they had earlier. And they dropped some games. They had that loss to New Orleans earlier in the season, which is a Q4 loss. And another that shouldn't happen was the ULM loss. Yeah. Lost the series at home to them, actually. So we'll see what can happen there. But I think, man, it's tough because Marshall played really well against them last year, right? Like that was that great game, went late into the night, if I'm not mistaken. A really good game too, like a really good baseball game in general. Like doesn't matter, take the names off the jerseys, but obviously do remember watching that one. I think we were kind of on with the Thundercast guys on their Twitter Spaces when they were playing that game, which was kind of fun. And Marshall was last in, but they're not harmless, right? Like they've got some pretty good, talented, as you said, Marv, pitchers. They've got some guys who can hit the ball too. They just didn't hit so great here in this last series versus Texas State.
No, and if you look at the record, right, like they're the 10th place team, but as we've seen, it's baseball, right? Any team can beat anybody anytime. And it's all comes down to timely hitting and good pitching. So that's a very interesting game to me.
Yeah. Chris chiming in saying New Orleans was 2 weeks ago, but they won the series against Southern Miss. Yeah, they definitely did that. They beat the top 2 teams in the conference, right? So they beat Southern Miss and Coastal in their series. So there is a lot to that metric if you want to look at it, because the Cajuns were looking like one of the best teams in this conference early in the season. And then they had that little run that it was weird too, because what they were like where A-State was, which was like great overall record start the year, but not in conference. Remember that? Like they were.
Yeah, because Cajuns got ranked, if I'm not mistaken, at one point in the year.
Yeah, they got ranked right there at the bye, like 24 or something like that. You're right.
Yeah.
So this is I don't know if it's your darkest of dark horses, right? Because we just talked about them beating the top 2 seeds of this tournament in weekend series. But as a 7 seed in the first 4, I think Cajuns are my early favorite. I don't. It's hard to look at like a Marshall team who's kind of limping in after that Texas State aspect, right?
Well, here's the deal, right? So whoever wins these games, you're either going to play Coastal or you're going to play Southern Miss.
True.
they just beat both of them in a series. So they get through Marshall, they're not going to be intimidated or limping in by any stretch of the imagination. They're going to say, hey, the past 2 weeks we beat both of these teams. We're fine.
It's a good point. Very good point. That game also first pitch at 4 Eastern, 3 Central time on Tuesday. So before you get out of work, this one will have started play. But you should be able to get home and watch the remainder of it in case you want to do that. Okay, they were up as high as 22 is what Chris is saying. So, and he's also saying, go Cajuns. No doubt there. Glenn Harris saying, with change around in pitchers halfway through conference, the Cajuns are playing way better. Better watch out. And I'm a Southern Miss dad. Yeah, he's a dad of just one of those guys that's decent at pitching. If you don't know Graydon Harris, you better be paying attention to that. But Deshaun Walker's chiming in saying, I still like our pitching better in a tournament setting, even though the Cajuns beat us. It's a Southern Miss fan saying that. So, yeah, I mean, that's where this is different, right? Like, you can say all the things you want to about weekend series, about midweeks. This is different. This is baseball from Tuesday to Sunday, no days off, especially for these teams in the first 4 if they continue to progress. Again, like you said, Marv, you got some other teams that have some extra rest.
Correct.
But, not a ton of extra rest. Like, really.
Well, it's a day, but, I mean, either one of these teams gets in a game that goes extra innings and you're using up arms in the bullpen, it changes the way that you have to schedule your pitching for the following day. I mean, it's these coaches that make these deep runs in these tournaments, they earn their money because you got to be very strategic about how you do it.
Yep, you absolutely do. Ed says you can't take Louisiana for granted. Absolutely not, for all the reasons we just covered. All right. I think that pretty much covers number 10 through verse number 7 there.
Yep.
Let's jump down to Georgia State at the 9 spot versus ODU at the 8 spot. I think ODU is another team you don't want to sleep on, but then you've got Georgia State, who just took down technically the number 3 team in this conference in App State. Now, they did do it at home. It wasn't on the road. But then you look back at ODU just a week ago, taking down Coastal as well. Again, is that more the Coastal slide, or is that more – ODU playing very well right now? They did lose that final game to James Madison, but technically they didn't need it, so they're okay there. But
that game's a toss up to me, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, I can't see it either way.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think that Georgia State is coming in a little hotter. I mean, and when I say a little hotter, I mean barely a little hotter, right? Like they lost the first game of their series and won the last 2. In the opposite form, ODU won their first 2 games of the series and lost their last 1. Is that a big deal? Probably not. I don't know how much stuff translates from the end of the regular season when you go on the road to a neutral site to play somebody and what that could mean for you. Glenn's chiming in saying he's going with ODU with 1 big inning at the plate. Sometimes that is all it takes. We'll have to see, if someone from the ODU side can really stand out and get this one going for them. But, yeah, I think this one, I'll be honest, I think this one may be a little bit more exciting than the first matchup. What do you think, Marv?
Like I said, I can't call it. So you want to talk like a path to winning, right? For me, the only way Marshall beats the Cajuns is if Bryce throws a gem, which he's done lots of times in his career. And then once again, I'm assuming that he's going to start, but in a single elimination tournament, you can't win the race with your fastest horse in the stable, right? So I think you got to go with him. Let's see. Georgia State and ODU played this year, and Georgia State took the series. So that was in April. I can't call it.
Yeah. What you took the series? Did they win it 2-1? Was it like a
2-1? Yeah, 2-1. The games were ODU won the first one 10-2, lost the second one 10-4, and then game 3 was what you would expect, right? 10 innings, 7-8 loss, too close to call. Both teams that won the first 2 games were fairly comfortable, and then a 10-inning game to wrap the series up. So I expect a super close ball game.
Yeah. Here's my deciding factor because I'm gonna pick somebody to have a choice here. Georgia State stepped up early in the season and beat number 3 Georgia Tech.
They did.
Who was a 2 RPI at the time. It's the single biggest win of anybody in the sunbelt conference tournament. Single biggest win. If you had to look at it, that you know what I mean. And then they take down. Did they? It says on my notes say they took down Coastal. I don't think they did do that, but I think that was ODU. Yeah, I think ODU did that. I don't think Georgia State did that, but
I'll fact check it.
Georgia State is just one of those teams that I feel like is dangerous. They just missed out on the tournament last year. They actually had the same matchup. They played App State in the last game of the regular season.
Old Dominion did take 2 or 3 from Coastal.
Yeah, but Georgia State did not, right?
They did not. No, they lost 2 or 3.
Yeah. It's got some of this.
I'm going ODU. I'm going to pick ODU in a 1-run ball game, 7-6. You heard it here.
Nice. I'm going to go Georgia State. Just, we'll have 2 sides of the coin there. Did we pick a winner in the first one, I guess? We need to go back and do that real quick?
Yeah. I'm going to go Cajuns.
Yeah, I'm going to go Cajuns. All right, so we agree on that one. We differ on the afternoon or the night game, I guess I should say, because that starts at 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central. So that would mean the Cajuns would be the highest remaining seed left.
Yep.
And no matter who wins the night game, they would be playing Southern Miss. Now, obviously, we didn't fill in those graphics because we just made those picks live, but here is how Wednesday would look, and this is where we'll stop with the graphics as well, by the way, because there's so many unknowns after Wednesday. But again, that was single elimination, so once those 2 games are played, 2 of those teams will leave the tournament, 2 will be inserted, playing both Southern Miss at number 1 and Coastal at number 2. Again, that would put Louisiana versus Coastal, which we'll jump into in a minute, and we'd have Georgia State or Old Dominion playing Southern Miss.
Yeah.
So that could be a really interesting aspect. We've also got on the docket Wednesday morning. We got morning baseball, all right, because there's too many games to be played at one field. So we've got a 10 Eastern, 9 Central start between Texas State and App State. Texas State, the number 6 team. App State, the number 3 team. Is that doesn't tell the whole story, right? App being at number 3, Texas State being at number 6. I mean, what are some of your thoughts going into that first game on Wednesday morning?
Outside of Louisiana, Texas State will be my other quote-unquote dark horse team to make a run at the championship game. App's sliding a little bit, lost 2 of their lost their last 2 series, had played phenomenal baseball for about a month coming into that. So does Texas State coming off a sweep, do they stay hot? Or does App continue to slide? Does App find its form from a month ago? All the dollars that I spent in tuition money at App State won't let me pick against them right now. But I would not be surprised if Texas State won that baseball game at all.
Would not be surprised either. App State's done pretty well performance-wise these last 2 Sunbelt tournaments, though. So this is one of those things where they have some of the experience being down here. And so we'll see if that is on their side. Again, this number 3 seed versus number 6 seed does not tell the whole story. App State is in no chance territory for an at-large bid. Texas State still is at an at-large bid possibility.
Based on RPI.
Exactly. So this is one of those ones that if somebody from the outside looking at the
wins.
Sorry, go ahead. What was that?
And they have 34 wins on the season.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily the tail of the tape as people from the outside might think it is, and just pick App to win because of that. I think this is going to be a really difficult game for App State to win. And again, just like Southern Miss, Texas State has swept their last 2 series in this conference. App State has not done that. In fact, lost this last weekend against Georgia State. So we'll see who comes out on top in the morning game. I don't know if there's really a lot deeper analysis for that, but I think that's just good. One of those sneaky games when you just look at the seeds and you could be thinking something different. So we'll jump down again. As we predict, Louisiana will match up again with Coastal Carolina not even a week later, not even 5 days later, just a few days later. And that one would get going at 1:30 Eastern, 12:30 Central Time. Do we see the Cajuns take yet another game from the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers here?
Could definitely see it. I mean, really good.
Yeah, I think it's going to depend on, who's on the mound for both teams. Like, how much do they care about getting this first win in this double elimination tournament? I mean, I would assume you're both, going to think the same thing. Like, we got to have this first one to put us in the winner's bracket.
Yeah.
Kind of metric, but I don't know.
I think a lot of it has to do with Coastal will have an extra day rest. How hard is that Marshall game? What do they have? What do they have to use in the bullpen? They didn't travel last weekend, so that's a plus for Louisiana. They had gone to Coastal and then had to travel again. Too many unknowns.
Yeah, and I feel like this Montgomery travel for Louisiana probably not too bad. A little bit different for Coastal, although, like you said, you get that little bit of extra rest there. Could that be significant or not? All right, so then we'd have either Georgia State or Old Dominion. We've both picked one of them, so we won't say who's going to play Southern Miss.
Southern Miss, that's put it through.
That's why the question mark is there. But yeah, like Marv said, Southern Miss, I'd be shocked if they lost to either one of those teams. But again, both of those teams have had some upset wins. Could they win a one-off? Sure, they could.
Of course.
But you're going up against now the literal best team in this conference. So 40-win Southern Miss juggernaut. I'm not going to go real deep on the analysis on this one, but that one gets going 4 Eastern, 3 Central Time. What's cool, what's great is all these games just back. You just keep the ESPN app on your desk all day at work, or check it randomly when you're doing something else. Marv, you on the road this week, or are you around?
I'm on the road a lot this week, but I will be checking in as often as possible.
There you go. So you're going to be driving safely and only checking when you're stopped. No comment. Ed says one of the strengths of Southern Miss is 4 really hot starting pitchers. Yeah, one of their dads was just on commenting over here. But yes, they do have a great pitching staff. Coastal's got a pretty good pitching staff as well. But let's get into this number 5 versus number 4 matchup. For significant reasons, it's pretty good one, because you've got two teams that really hate each other, and they're both playing not too far from home here.
I'd say two Alabama teams playing in the state of Alabama. Man, this is the most intriguing game of day 2, if you will. You want to pick, or you want me to pick?
Well, first of all, I'll say it's just the luck of the draw, but like they also get the night game. So like you said, this is an in-state game. A lot more people could probably make it to than, your 10 a.m., your 1:30 game. So I would expect a really good crowd for this one. I'm hopeful. But yeah, go ahead and make a pick here and see who you're going with.
All right. So 2 weeks ago, they played a series, which Troy won 2-1. The first game they got beat pretty good, but then they also won fairly handily in both of the other 2 games. But I'm going to pick South Alabama.
Ooh.
Against everything that I just said of why I should pick Troy, I'm going to pick South Alabama. Nothing more than a gut feeling.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm going to counter for this reason. One of the storylines into this tournament should be what happened to Troy last year.
Yeah.
Right? We know how close they were, how on the cusp they were, and then they got left out of the field when a lot of us thought they should be in.
Correct.
Won every single series except for the last one versus Southern Miss.
Yep.
They just couldn't close on Sundays for whatever reason. But this year did not go as planned, right? We thought, okay, here they come. They were pissed about not making the field last year. They're going to show everybody they truly mean business. They're going to go on a tear. They're going to be one of the best teams in the conference. Well, ended up at number 5 is not bad. Technically, they were in a tie for 3, right, if you want to go that high. But it still was, I would say, a little bit of a disappointing season, really, when you look at it, with what Troy thought they were going to probably be able to come back and accomplish. But they also have a guy who's tied for the lead in sunbelt home runs in Jimmy Janicki.
Yeah.
Who's, I watched a lot of that App State series, and the guy can hit the ball.
It's good.
He's pretty good. Stephen Meyer, also pretty good home run hitter. He's only got 9 on the year, but that's pretty good too. So yeah, I mean, just once again to kind of counter you, I'll go with Troy, but I wouldn't be surprised if South Alabama wins this. I think it's clearly a toss up, 4-5 tied in the regular season. Two teams don't like each other. Neither one of them swept the other one, obviously. So, it's going to be – it's the right one to put as the nightcap, I feel like, right?
I would 100% agree with that.
Yeah. So there we go. We won't go further than that because at that point it's all hypotheticals. Obviously what we just did was a little bit of that. But then you've got who won, who lost, and, we're not going to get too deep into that. I think, Marv, we do need to go and, do our picks and
do a bracket.
Should we do a bracket or should we do the daily picks? Because I think we did daily picks last year. Because
how about this? Let's do a bracket that we'll keep to ourselves, unless one of us does amazingly good or bad.
Okay.
And then we'll do daily picks as well. But do you want to go on record right now in front of the people? Who wins it?
All right. Well, I'm going to put this question up because I think it's a good one. Bobcat Buck wants to know way too early MVP outlook. So let's be thinking about that one. But overall, who wins it?
Tournament MVP or season MVP?
Let's do tournament MVP. If we're going to pick a team, we're going to think that they could go out there and win this thing. It's probably going to be who we pick to win. So we'll pick who we feel like could win this thing or will win this thing. And then we'll probably pick a kid from that team. Usually your MVP is from the team that wins it.
Yeah, it is.
Man, this is really tough. The field is just as good as it's ever been. I feel like, how much do I want to trust a dark horse to get it done? I'm going with the favorite. I'm going with the obvious answer here. I'm going with Southern Miss. I think they're hot at the right time. They're kind of like Coastal last year. I feel like they're just hot. They look good. They're not having I don't feel like I can trust Coastal right now. As much as Coastal fans are like, oh, come on, we'll get it together. I don't know. I haven't seen it these last 2 weeks. They haven't got it together. They have Morrison, who's a great pitcher, but he's not at his regular cadence here. So I'm going with Southern Miss. I'll let you do your pick, and then we'll go MVPs after that.
There's going to be no controversy or hot take here. I'm going to say Southern Miss is playing the best baseball in the conference right now. Top 10 team in the country for a reason. Would it shock me if Coastal ended up winning? No, it wouldn't shock me. But if there was a line on it, I would take Southern Miss.
All right, we're going to be boring, but I think we're playing it smart too, to be totally honest. So with that being said, I think it's MVP for tournament setting. I don't know if you see a pitcher go enough to win that award.
Unless they pitch the championship game and absolutely shut it down, which Southern's got 4 dudes that could could get that.
Yeah. Man.
This is a needle in a haystack, right?
Yeah. I'll go. I like the name, so I'm going to go Joey Urban. I'm going to say he hits well enough to get the team going and pulls in some RBIs and maybe hits some home runs. So I'll say that he sticks out and takes the MVP.
I'm going to go Kyle Morrison. If we're taking the winning team, I'm going to take who I think is the best overall baseball player on that team.
Yeah, no, that's a good pick. And he is second in the league in home runs with 15.
15,
so
yeah. And
leader has 16. He has 15. It's a very solid pick. I did think about him. I think there's, like you said, multitude of pitchers who, if they throw some kind of complete game shutout, it's going to be them. But I don't know if that'll happen.
He's also hitting 324 on the season. So, That's where I'll go.
Okay, makes sense. Artie Cat jumping in here saying, "Eat 'em up, cats." Artie Cat, we're gonna have a little fisticuffs here as we get going as our first games against
Artie Cat until Thursday.
Ed's got a good pick here. He says, I'm thinking Matt Russo. It's also a very solid pick there. Chad chiming in and say, dang it, Seth, you jinxed us. Dang it. You too, Marv. I was about to share some bourbon news with you.
We still want the bourbon news.
Yeah, I'll share away. We're always good for the bourbon news. We'll see if he shares that by the time we end the sucker. Is there any other last news or notes before we get out of here and say goodbye to the people? But don't go too far because Tuesday we got baseball.
We do have baseball, which is exciting. Man, I can't believe the season is already over. Just so much fun to watch how things change, right? Like how teams get hot, teams get cold. We talked about it earlier, how Louisiana started off great, had a little bit of a fall, and now we're both talking about them being a dark horse. Coastal builds this lead that, I'm not going to lie, a month ago I thought that was insurmountable. No way anybody will come back and overtake them, and here we are, Southern Miss being the number one team. I think it's going to be an awesome tournament. We've always, talked about the idea of going to one of these in person. I think it would be phenomenal to take a week off work and just go watch a whole bunch of baseball. You wouldn't have to sell me too hard on that, but the PTO says otherwise. But, man, just really looking forward to it, and I hope that outside of Coastal and Southern Miss, I hope that another team does well enough that we're seeing their name get called for a regional. I'd love to see us get 3 teams in, however that happens.
There are a few predictions out there that have 4.
I don't see that. I do not see that happening. I think one of those teams, Louisiana, South Alabama, Troy, Texas State, one of those has got to make a run, and all 4 of them can't. Right? That's the reality.
Right, that's true.
Of the tournament format. So whichever one of those makes the deepest run, I hope they're the 3rd team in. I don't see 4. I would love to be wrong, but I don't see it.
The ones I saw, obviously, Southern Miss, Coastal, no surprise. Louisiana, and then Texas State was the last one that I saw. So, again, how much of that is a projection of what happens in the Sunbelt Conference tournament, and how much of that is just RPI, everything else says that by the end they're going to be good.
It has a lot to do with it. Because if you go back to the RPI side, like there are a couple teams in the 40s, one at 50 and one at 60. So you would think that 3 teams realistically have a shot. But and then look, South Alabama, Troy, right? Like that first game, the winner of that game, if they make a run, maybe you're sitting back saying, maybe it's them.
True. It could be. I think it's going to be really fun to watch all this go down in real time because, like you said, there's a lot on the line. There's more than just winning this tournament, right? You could play yourself into a spot without having to win this tournament, but how far do you have to advance? Like, that's the part. We don't know. We don't know that metric, so you have to keep winning as much as you can. And Chad is saying, Yellowstone toasted. You will not be disappointed.
Interesting.
I wonder if that's something – is that national, Chad, or is that something that's like – specific to an area? I know all these like bourbon snobs, sorry Chad, that know all these things and know where and when these things get released. I'm not one of those guys.
Well, we also live in a non-allocation state where getting bourbon that most people could find in their grocery stores is impossible to get here.
True. Yeah, I've heard like the lines when stuff gets released are just insane, like hour-long waits. I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that.
Well, where I live in the good old boy network is you got to know somebody that knows somebody that's got a family member that works at the ABC store to be even. They don't even tell you when it comes out. They get 6 bottles of Blanton's that shows up, and they're all spoken for before they ever get taken out of the box.
Wow. Well, Chad is giving us some good news. He says, yes, it is. It should be able to get it up there. So maybe we'll check that out. Maybe I'll enjoy a glass of that while I watch Tuesday night action, Sunbelt baseball. So
I have a tradition called them victory bourbons. So anytime a team that I coach wins, I'll come home and have a victory bourbon. So hopefully App State wins on Wednesday. I will go to the ABC store and try to find Yellowstone.
Same here. Maybe we'll do it together, Marv.
There you go.
Neat on the rocks. How do you do the victory bourbon?
Oh yeah, big ice cube, 2 shots on the rock. Let it sit and sip.
Nice. I like it. I've actually, gotten to the point now, older, drinking it long enough. I can do a neat too. I mean, as long as it's good. I don't want the bad, cheap bourbon that's not enjoyable. But otherwise, I can drink them neat sometimes. Reagan's making a good point. Southern Miss AD on the selection committee. If we don't get some favor, I'll be livid. Well, our commissioner was on the committee for basketball, and we only got one team in. So
listen, I think Southern Miss is in a spot right now where if they play theoreticals, don't lose a game, win the conference tournament, that they would be set up that not only obviously they're going to host, but their national seeds should be high enough where they could host a super.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. They've done it before. I think it was the 2 years ago, and Tennessee had to come to them.
Yeah, the
Applebee's.
Yes, yeah.
That was so much fun. Chad says if he can snag another, I'll send it your way, Marv.
It's because
what the hell? Where am I at, Chad?
We share a last name. All right.
True. There's a connection. Okay. All right. I'll give it to you. Artie says ABC. Does the state sell liquor?
Yes. The alcoholic beverage control.
Oh, that's right. They weren't a national seed. Destiny. Look, she was paying attention and knew when to jump in. They were not a national seed. They actually got to host because the national seed got knocked out. Beat Auburn in their regional.
There you go.
That's right. I didn't know. I couldn't remember it was Auburn, but yeah. So that was one that happened even though it didn't look like it was going to happen before it happened, if that makes any sense.
That's a great place for the sunbelt to put on display if they hosted a super regional. It's super unique with all the parking in the outfield and just kind of cool.
Yeah, I would love to see it.
We got to take a trip to the Pete, man.
I know. But like you said, this is like the worst time. Kids are like finishing up school, you got vacations that you've already planned and got the PTO on schedule for. It's like, man.
Hey, listen, once the podcast starts making a bunch of money, we'll just charter the private jet.
Yeah,
there, we're good.
Syndicate jet, put it on the payroll.
There you go.
Destiny says she's of the opinion that don't give Coastal the respect last year. They're not going to give it to us this year.
That's possible because Coastal was on that crazy 20-game win streak going in. Last year had been ranked very high for a very long time. That's that's in my opinion, that's where the SEC ACC bias will come into play.
True. She says we need to make it out. One of the best atmospheres. We already know it's one of the best atmospheres. We just got to get there to actually experience it live.
Just got to get there.
Yeah. And hey, I didn't give enough love to Marshall, but hey, I am sporting the herd on the show. So if you're just listening, it's there's no hate there. It's just the Cajun pick was a little stronger value because of recent happenings. So send us some Cajun gear. Maybe we'll support that, right, Marv?
I got nothing against the Cajuns.
No, I got nothing against them either. All right, I think that'll do it for
the gear that I could get sent that I won't wear. It's Georgia 7.
Yeah, I know. Okay, there's a couple more comments rolling in, man. People just want to keep us going, and that's okay, I bet Coastal 70-1 to win the Natty. Southern Miss 65-1. That's pretty good odds to make some money. Not some great odds to win it, but hey, I like it. As a Sunbelt guy, obviously, Marv, we love that stuff.
I'm gonna go put 10 on Southern Miss right now.
There you go. Is Sierra Nevada beer popular in the Carolinas? Yes. It's brewed in Mills River, North Carolina. I just wondered. It's an unofficial beer of San Francisco Bay Area. I didn't know. I think. Wait, they have 2 breweries, right, Marv? They have one.
They got the one in Deep River, which is Mills River, which is right outside of Asheville. I've actually been there a couple times. I don't know if you ever have. Super cool spot, phenomenal food, and the beer's pretty darn good.
Yeah, I've was at a bachelor party. We were supposed to make it out. We never made it out. But I've seen pictures. I had a guy at work who went there. It's massive. It's really nice. So yeah, I would like to make it there someday. Chris is saying we need to make a trip to this. Man, if I could afford it and I didn't have to work, I could only do this, or had to only do this, or got to only do this, I guess I should say. we'd be making content and just traveling around doing all these things.
Buddy, yeah, if it paid enough, oh my God, we would go to a different sunbelt ballpark. We'd almost be like the college game day of sunbelt baseball, right? We just wake up on a Monday morning, like, where are we going this weekend? What's the biggest conference series? Try to knock them all out. That would be the absolute dream life.
Yeah, no, it really, really would. Artie Cat saying the others in Chico, California. So that's where that
would be at the foothills of the Sierra Nevada mountains.
Sierra Nevada. Yep. Makes sense. Reagan said it's a hedge bet. Yeah. Artie Cat, that would be great. Yeah, I mean, I think, as like you said, we've had a dream about how we wanted to run this and do this for a long period of time. It's just takes good planning, money, availability from work to all. When you go to the tournaments like basketball or baseball and you have games that start at 10 and go till 9 or 10 o'clock at night, like that's just tough because that's a whole day you take off work. Even if you can kind of work remotely, you're not doing anything while you're at those games. You got to be honest with yourself. So
you're just gonna due to travel ball being in a field that long is not that foreign of a concept to me. Wouldn't hurt my feelings either.
Oh no, I would love to do it, but again, like if you're trying to like, hey, I'll do a work trip and get a little work in while I do this, like I gotta be honest, that's not happening.
Once again, that's why if watching the baseball games and writing articles about it was the work, that would be sweet.
Yeah, that would be the sweetest. All right, comments have slowly stopped, which is good.
Yeah, because it sounds like we have an advertisement for a GoFundMe page going right now. That's why everybody's like, good night.
There we go. All right. Enjoy the baseball. We'll be out and around. I don't know when we'll go live again next, but we're definitely going to be doing social posts throughout this whole tournament. So be on the lookout for that. Again, like Mark said, we're going to share you some picks and maybe a bracket if it looks pretty good.
Yeah, if one of us does really well or one of us does really bad, we'll put the bad one on there to embarrass the other person. And
Seth?
Seth doesn't get to do a bracket.
Oh, man. All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in, listening, or downloading, and we will see you guys Tuesday.